It's time to take a look at the news of the week. San Francisco Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi has been reelected to her post as House Democrat leader. The 115-year-old Pelosi won the ballot because Democrats said they felt there were still some areas of the country they hadn't alienated. These include the rest area between exits 15 and 16 on Interstate 40 outside Russellville, Arkansas, and the last 3 rows of the old movie theater in Zanesville, Ohio. Pelosi said she would immediately get to work on issues Americans care about, like whether urinals should be installed in women's bathrooms to accommodate women who are actually men wearing a dress. Dylan Roof, the man accused of murdering 9 people at a historic black church in Shelby, North Carolina, has decided to act as his own attorney at his trial. Experts say this proves the truth of the old adage, a man who acts as his own lawyer has a racist psycho killer for a client. Roof is already participating in the jury selection process and says he's looking for jurors who think slaughtering innocent people en masse is A-OK. Those jurors who have been impaneled so far have already been asking the judge some clarifying questions, such as, do we have to sit through the whole trial before we convict him? And is there a slower, more painful version of the death penalty? The new Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, says Republican plans to privatize Medicare show the GOP is going to wage a war on seniors. President-elect Donald Trump has said he has no plans to change Medicare, but Schumer says it's still a Republican war on seniors because something. House Republican leader Paul Ryan said he was disappointed in Schumer's remarks because Republicans had been hoping to begin the war on seniors with a surprise attack, featuring GOP congressmen leaping out from behind trees to steal seniors' canes and push over their wheelchairs. Ryan said that after the federal government lost the war on drugs and the war on poverty, they were hoping this would be an easy one since the enemy would be old people who can't really fight back. Islamic authorities in Morocco say they were shocked by a new segment on a state-owned Moroccan television station that showed women how to use makeup to hide the signs of domestic violence. Local imams flooded the TV station with phone calls in protest. The imams say using makeup is only for hussies and harlots who are trying to lure innocent Muslims into sin with their sweetly smooth cheeks and lusciously round bodies. The imam said any woman found using makeup should be beaten, leading the television station to rerun the original segment. And finally, Anthony Weiner has returned to New York from a more than month-long stint in a Tennessee sex clinic. Weiner says the clinic taught him that sexting underage girls was bad, which surprised him because he'd always thought it was absolutely great. Weiner admits his political career is probably over because there's no place for him in the Democrat Party now that he's no longer a sexual deviant. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shaped, ipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
I love that story about Dylan Roof acting as his own attorney. You could just see the judge. You could just see the judge going, "You want to act as your own attorney? Go for it, baby." It reminded me of the guy Jeffrey Dahmer, the serial killer who got murdered in prison. And people said, "How could this happen?" And I thought, well, it happened because the murderer came in and said to the guard, "Excuse me, you're standing in my way. I'd like to kill Jeffrey Dahmer." And the guard said, "Oh, excuse me, let me step back for a minute." It's like a little rough justice going on. All right, I don't do this often. In fact, I'll probably never do it again, but I want to give a birthday shout out to my fan, Dakota Hoddle, who is turning 24 years old today. His fiancée, Sarah Mallon, said that this would make her the greatest fiancée on earth, which I thought was like, yeah. Dakota, you are way out-chicked. So be nice, because they don't come along that often. All right, this Christmas season has begun. We are going to talk about God today because, I did this. We're going to do it. We'll do it after the people on Facebook go away because they're going to be cast out into the exterior darkness where there's great weeping and gnashing of teeth. But you, who are among the Daily Callerites who can hear the whole show at the Daily Caller site. Anybody can hear the whole show at the Daily Caller site. The Daily Wire. Gosh, sorry about that. I've been thinking about what's it. Anyone can hear the show at the Daily Wire, but if you want to watch the show, you have to subscribe. Lousy $8 a month. Come on, subscribe. So we'll be talking about God because I had this interview with Dave Rubin on the Rubin Report, and I've just been getting like hammered. All these people, all these atheists are so upset that I believe in God and can explain why they didn't like that. All right, I have to tell you, we were just talking about this before we came on. I have been feeling so jolly, about this political situation. If you had told me a month ago, all right, November 1st, if you had told me that I would be feeling jolly because Donald Trump had been elected president, I would have laughed twice. One, that Donald Trump was going to be elected president, although I knew it was going to be closer than everybody else said. I'd have to give myself that. But also that I would feel this good about it. I mean, and it's not just me. I'm watching all the guys, Krauthammer, who said he could never vote for Donald Trump, as a matter of ethics. He's been saying this is going very well. He says, Trump looks like he wants to get stuff done. Jonah Goldberg was on the Fox panel. I love Jonah. Jonah's, I think, one of the best political writers out there, just a terrific writer, great sense of humor, really well informed. And he was saying, kind of what I've been saying is like, yeah, can I pick this apart, some of this apart from a conservative point of view? Sure you can. I mean, right now, as I speak, I think Trump is in Indianapolis touting the fact that he saved 1,000 jobs at the Carrier air conditioning firm. And I think what I saw as I was coming on air was that the deal is that they're going to give him $7 million in tax incentives, and they'll keep 1,000 workers there. This is a big victory for Trump. It probably, obviously, engineered by Pence, who's still the governor of Indiana, so he can do this stuff. And, is there a moral hazard to thinking, we're going to do this with every business? But remember, this is standard operating procedure. Every state gives breaks to businesses to induce businesses to come. Texas comes to California and says, you're paying these tremendous taxes. If you come to Texas, you won't be doing that. Maybe we'll give you, New York will say, we'll give you 10 years where you don't have to pay any taxes, and that brings jobs into the state, and then they start to tax them. There's always these things going on. But as I said yesterday, this is a symbol of a guy who means to move forward. And watching the White House get upset about this was hilarious. Here's Josh Earnest, the presidential spokesman, saying, well, I guess it's all right, but not as good as us.
The early indications are that this is good news, and obviously we'd welcome that good news. I know that the president-elect has indicated that he deserves credit for that announcement, and I guess what I would observe is that if he is successful in doing that 804 more times, then he will meet the record of manufacturing jobs that were created in the United States while President Obama was in office. There were 805,000 manufacturing jobs that weren't just protected or saved, but actually created while President Obama was in office. So President Obama has set a high standard, and President-elect Trump can meet that standard if this carrier deal is completed in the way that he expects that it will be. And if he does that 804 more times, then he will have matched the standard established by President Obama, at least when it comes to manufacturing jobs. The one difference would be that the president-elect is talking about protecting jobs, and the metric I'm using is actually creating jobs. If we go to protecting jobs, there are more than 1 million jobs in the industrial Midwest that were saved when President Obama made the decision to rescue the American auto industry.
Here's from the Washington Times with a hat tip to Deborah Hine at PJ Media. According to manufacturing employment data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, since Mr. Obama took office in 2009, the U.S. has lost about 303,000 manufacturing jobs. I'm not sure how one even spins that into a positive, says the writer. Moreover, in his 2012 re-election campaign, Mr. Obama promised to create 1 million new manufacturing jobs by the end of this year and said he was working to double American exports over the next 5 years, but statistics show he's fallen short on both measures. Between the time he made the promise and October 2016, the most recent data available, the number of manufacturing jobs only rose by 297,000, far below the 1 million jobs he promised. So it's all untrue. And remember also that this, we always made fun of Obama for saying he saved jobs because there's no way to measure that. There is a way to measure this. Carrier was going to move 2,000 jobs to Mexico. It's now going to only move 1,000 jobs. So yes, he did save them. But also remember how Obama used stories like this to spend $800 million in stimulus that went basically to the people in the stock, buying stocks. It went to the rich. It didn't go to anybody, that we know. It just bolstered the stock market. So, look, this is a symbol. is it fraud? Is this the way we want him to go forward? No. Do we want him going around just giving tax deals to businesses? No, of course not. That's not the point. But as a symbol that the guy has turned his mind from who's using which bathroom, which is so offensive to people. It's not even offensive to people because they dislike transgender people. That's not the point. The point is there's serious stuff going on, and he's telling them that he is going to attend to this serious stuff. And the thing that is beneath this that is so encouraging, and the reason I'm so jolly, is it speaks to the fact that it turns out that Trump, this wild man, this guy who insults people, this guy who talks about crazy stuff like Ted Cruz's father killing Kennedy or being associated with Lee Harvey Oswald, all this crazy stuff, he actually has a plan. He has now appointed this guy, Stephen Mnuchin, who has this to say about the economy.
We represent the lollipop guild, the lollipop guild, the lollipop guild, and in the name of the lollipop guild, we wish to welcome you to Munchkin Land.
All right, sorry, that was Steve Munchkin. That was I'm so sorry. He's a union guy, It's like from the Lollipop Guild. Oh, okay, but Steve Mnuchin is from Goldman Sachs, and yes, they demonize Goldman Sachs, and Goldman Sachs also is like just stacked with these Keynesian leftists. I mean, that's the other thing. They make a fortune off capitalism, and then tell us that it's all right for us to go into debt ceaselessly. But listen to what he's saying. It's important because it shows that Trump is not entirely the wild man we thought.
This has been an administration for the last 8 years where we haven't had enough growth. Our number one priority is going to be tax reform. We think that by lowering the corporate tax rate, we're going to make U.S. corporations incredibly competitive and create enormous amounts of money that comes back onshore and creates jobs.
Let's talk about how you do that, Stephen, because obviously you followed Trump throughout the entire campaign process. In terms of your first steps during this transition period and first steps in January, how do you get that tax reform moving?
Well, the good thing about this is Wilbur and I have worked together on the economic plan with the president-elect throughout the campaign. We were integral to both economic speeches, the one in Detroit as well as the one in New York. And we have a plan. We've been working with the policy group. We're already sitting down and discussing this with Congress. And this is going to be something that happens absolutely within the first 90 days of this presidency. We're going to have a major tax reform, biggest tax reform since Reagan. And it's not just going to be a cut in corporate taxes, but it's also going to be a very large middle-income tax cut that's going to help this country.
This is all stuff that makes a conservative's heart, warm. And the thing, and even the things that I've been worried about, like the spending on infrastructure, which I think can just become a graft pit and not really create as many jobs as they say it's going to, even though we need some infrastructure work. They're talking about bringing this money onshore and privatizing some of this work and giving incentives to people to do infrastructure work. It's very different than just throwing money at the problem, which is essentially what Democrats do. Plus, Democrats always keep control of anything they throw money at. If they pay for it, they want to run it, and they want to tell people how to hire people, and they want to say what the regulations are. And these endless regulations. So look, by the way, when we talk about this protectionist thing, the trade thing, where we feel that Trump is a little it's weird that he doesn't like free trade, even though we understand that free trade sometimes costs jobs in one sector and while it creates wealth in other sectors. There are places where our trade policies have gone wrong in exactly the way that Trump says. I'm out here in Hollywood. The special effects business, which 10 years ago was thriving here, is virtually gone. And I don't want to say it's gone to China, China, everything is, Trump, China, but it has. Yeah, and not only has it gone to China, it's gone to England and it's gone to Canada. And the reason it's gone over to those places is because they subsidize the work. The government pays people money so they can charge us less. So all these lefty Hollywood guys go off to Canada, go off to England to do the special effects work, and all the work goes away, which, by the way, is illegal even according to the established rules of the trade, but they just don't enforce it. They don't enforce those things because they're so afraid of starting trouble. those things can be renegotiated and enforced, and they should be. Here, I'm going to have to say goodbye. We're going to have a great conversation about Christmas and God. It's really going to be interesting, but you got to come over to the Daily Wire, now that I remember where I work, come over to the Daily Wire to hear it. And while you're there, subscribe, and you can be part of the mailbag. You can watch me. You can watch Shapiro. It will be great.